Hayward catches the top, hands back to Trey, 3-ball, got it! Oh my goodness! He's just ridiculous! Trey Burke!
This is Gordon Hayward. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
Night 2 in Portland in the books. We'll look at that. Quinn Snyder's brilliant moves late give us an insight into the mad scientist and the NBA 5. It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip Off. Pow. Good morning to everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or weekend chores, or whenever you might be listening to this. It's a Friday recording, which means you could be grabbing it sometime Saturday or Sunday while you're doing the family chores, and that's the whole point of it. So hope you're well. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. Glad to be with you. Jazz are 2-0 in the preseason. They'll play again Monday. Lots of excitement around all of that, and we will we'll break it down and talk to you and take your questions and do all of that. Jazz tickets are available. There's a great package in November. I personally just think you should buy the 7-game pack and just buy all 7 games in November and then buy another 7-game pack after that. The 7 games in November, are actually there's 8, are so ridiculously good. Houston, Phoenix, Cleveland, Dallas, Oklahoma City, New Orleans, Chicago, and the Clippers. It's just ridiculous. But there is a package. You get Houston on opening night. You get LeBron on Wednesday, November 5th, and then you get New Orleans and Anthony Davis on Saturday that's available. So you call those operators, 801-325-2999. All right, let's get into it. We'll start it off, as always, with the NBA 5, and then we'll head over to the Utah Jazz. So let's hit the NBA 5. Interesting comments coming from Chris Bosh yesterday. He, when talking about what Kevin Love's going to have to go through, and I realized that Bosh, people have forgotten this, Bosh was very similar to Love when Bosh joined the Miami Heat. I mean, his numbers were very, he's 25 and 10 guy in Toronto. It's more difficult taking a step back because you used to do something a certain way and getting looks a certain way, Bosh said. And then it's like, well, no, for the benefit of the team, you have to get it here. So even if you do like the left block, the volume of the left block is going to be different. Now you have to make those moves count. So with me, it was like a chess game. I'm doing this move and thinking about the next move and trying to stay 5 moves ahead. You're not getting it as much. If you get 1 or 2 a game, it's a lot different. It's interesting. Talking about you can't set your guys up. You can't work them a certain way. You can't get into a rhythm. That's what, you watch Aldridge just getting the ball every single time, and that's who Bosh really was. And frankly, as Bosh, the high post game is right into Bosh's angle. He said, was asked if it was like you don't get to pick the buffet. He said, exactly. You just get your entree, and that's it. It's like, wait a minute, he said, I need my appetizer, my dessert, and my drink. What are you doing? And my bread basket. What's going on? I'm hungry. It's a lot different. But if you can get through it, good things can happen, but it never gets easy. Even up to my last year of doing it, it never gets easy. I thought this is telling because even if you go back last year, there was a question asked Dwayne Wade where Wade was asked whether or not he ever thinks about, being the man again and getting all the shots again, and he said every day. And I think all of us thought it was a little weird that he would make that comment considering the fact they'd won 2 titles and we're rolling, and yet that was the comment. Every day. So I do think this is going to be very difficult for Kyrie and Kevin Love, and maybe, I don't know, more difficult for them because Wade had established himself as a champion by then and, had that kind of in his back pocket. Like even when, when LeBron got his title, Wade was able to go up there with his 2 trophies, right? And kind of make his statement, I've already been here. Love and Irving have been nowhere. They're somewhat established as all-stars and well-compensated and USA basketball players, but you wonder whether or not they're going to feel that they don't have enough something along the way as they have to play second fiddle to LeBron in this process. It's worth watching. I still think Cleveland's the dominant team in the West. Kevin Pelton and I debated something about Chicago in our podcast. That's available for you, by the way. So it's we'll see. Warriors and Klay Thompson are a few million apart on the new extension. why should the Warriors possibly sign Klay Thompson to a max deal today? I've never understood this. I mean, I guess it's inevitable that Klay Thompson's going to get the max. So you could just give it to him. But why wouldn't you let him go play the year, go through restricted free agency, get the max offer, and then match it the way the Jazz did with Gordon Hayward? Well, because you'll bother the player. Okay. Maybe that's the risk, is that you'll somehow bother the player. On the flip side, you give your franchise a little more security. You might be able to do some more flexibility money-wise. And I don't think there's really any chance of this happening along the way. But maybe something happens in the marketplace where he becomes a non-max guy. I think that's highly unlikely. Let's be really quite frank about it. I think it's just about impossible. But, at least worth a thought that might happen somewhere along the way, in some capacity. I can't imagine why the Warrior, people are like, there's the Warriors getting banged on a little bit right now. Well, if you did this whole thing with Kevin Love, then why are you were willing to give Kevin Love the max? Why would you go give it right now to, aren't you giving it to Klay? Well, because there's no need to give it to Klay yet. Jabari Parker is one of the more interesting players to me coming into this league in some time after doing all the scouting reports that I've done on him and the rest this year. And so I'm watching him closely. Another only fair preseason outing for him. Didn't shoot a great percentage. I'm a little mystified on what I think he's going to become, honestly. I got it. I mean, I've talked to people who think that mid-block game is going to be unstoppable and going to be just great. And, first and third quarters last night he combined for 2 of 5. He had to guard Zach Randolph in the first game. I still think there's a little bit of a question mark on some of the things with him and how it all plays out along the way. So we'll see. I'm probably wrong. I mean, I think he's going to be great, but I'm going to watch him very, very closely. Brandon Rush played 16 minutes last night, had 8 points on 3 of 7 shooting as he tries to get his game back in order. That is your NBA 5.
This is Derek Favors. Remember, it's about playing with a purpose.
And the Jazz are, in fact, playing with a purpose right now. Let's get to the highlight of the night. If you guys have the YouTube feature on your Hangout, for those that are watching on a Hangout, I believe if I play this, it'll show up on your screen, and you will see this. I mean, it's just a crazy play by Gordon. Brian Wheeler, nice jump on the call. Ron and I got caught by it. We were our call was terrible. We both just jumped out of our chairs, stunned that Gordon just did it. There's so many things to that play that tell you a lot about Gordon. One, the fact that he's taking that. Second, he was just on a tight curl. Didn't seem like there was much of anything going on. He didn't come with any great aggressiveness. But also another, from a scouting standpoint, we always talk about 1-foot jumpers versus 2-foot jumpers. And I think that play right there is the best example I can give you of why you've got to be a 1-foot jumper in the NBA. He went off his right foot and just rose up. That's an incredible amount of athleticism. A lot of guys have to bring that second foot in. And the minute you have to bring that second foot in, you don't have time. You're in trouble in the NBA. The NBA is too good for you to do that. And that's just a big-time aggressive play by Gordon Hayward. And then afterwards, if you didn't hear about it, he stares down Freeland for a minute. I mean, it was an out-of-body Gordon Hayward about it. It was sick. And, I talked to Gordon. He said he bumped off of him a little bit. It looks as though when you watch it, as though Gordon is climbing. So Gordon's climbing Freeland. It was sick. Totally ridiculously sick. And I know we were radio only, and to many of you I apologize because Ron and I kind of blew it. We were in this it was a minute left in the second quarter of a preseason game. There was a lot going on. I think we were discussing something long-term with the Jazz, and he came around this curl, and all of a sudden just pow, and both of us were like, I can't believe he just did that. Wait a second, we haven't told you what it was. It was stupid, and it just tells you a lot about who Gordon is. Gordon's first half was absurdly good last night. So many things to talk about. Let's see if we can dig into a bunch of them last night with the Jazz. I think we saw the regular rotation. I've been telling you this. If you listen to the show, you're not surprised by it. I've been telling you this for some time now, frankly, that the regular rotation on this team is going to be pretty much the starting five we talked about with Alec, Trey, Gordon, Ennis, and Derek. Dante's your third guard. Rodney Hood is your wing. And Gobert and Booker are your other bigs. And I think we saw that completely in this game. As and that's what, Rodney Hood replaces Dante Jones in that rotation. Rodney was ready, available. There seemed no point, I think, to do that and let Dante get some more time. We may not see very much Dante Jones for the rest of training camp. Depending how Quinn approaches this along the way. I wonder whether, we'll cut down a few here at some point. If we don't do it before Monday, I would think we'd cut down a few on Tuesday. I don't know that. No one's told me that. I'm just going off past history. We usually have done that before we head to the LA trip, if my memory is correct. But so you saw the regular rotation, and then Quinn really felt that late you can't simulate. His quote after the game was, you can't simulate that experience. So he left the starters out on the floor playing big minutes to close a game together, get that experience of how to close a game together, and let him coach it. And it was interesting to watch. They ran two plays out of timeouts. One, the Trey Burke three that I played as the highlight to open the show. The other was a play off an inbound where Favors catches it at the free throw line, and the play is completely designed for Favors to catch it and go off the dribble, driving at his man from somewhere, 17 feet out to the basket. That's just something we've never seen out of Derek, never asked him to do. He drove, put his shoulder into the defender, drew the foul, and finished. It was truly awesome. And it's a sign of just how Quinn's asking some of these guys to do more things. And I think when asking the guys to do more things, getting more out of them, right? I mean, Cantor's so excited about the fact that Quinn's believing in him enough to shoot the threes. Derek, I think, is pretty excited about getting that ball. That's the one player that I've always thought, in a lot of ways, Favors had a chance to be. I'm not sure he'll ever be this good a shooter. I think people have forgotten how good a shooter he was. So I don't think he'll put up 25 like this guy did. Is Amari Stoudemire. To me, there's a lot of similarities on Amari Stoudemire. And that was an Amari Stoudemire play. Amari Stoudemire used to get the ball in the middle of the floor, spaced out with shooters, and go to work. And that's hard to defend. And, if you got a guy in each corner and a guy up, and Derek goes to work, and he gets going fast enough, the two defenders at the top, should I draw on my face for you? Should we do the draw in the face game? This is, always risky of what's going to happen here. But here, let's try it. For those of you that are watching on it, I will stay kind of with what I was just saying. But, if you just look at the spacing on this is the key. So you've got, one guy in the corner here, in each corner, and then out of the inbound, the guy who throws the inbound has somebody guarding him, so he stays up, right? And the other guy spaces outside the three-point line high. If Derek catches at the free throw line, the two defenders on the wing players can't get there. So now Derek beats his guy or drives on his guy. The only help defense can come off the corners. And so it's a very easy read for Derek. If Derek goes right and the defender from the right corner comes over, he sees it right in front of him. He just makes a very simple decision of whether or not he throws the pass. It's a very beautiful play. It's very simple. And Derek executed it perfectly. And from my standpoint, it was really kind of awesome to watch a play that I've seen tried in training camp numerous times and executed out of time for Derek, and then have it executed perfectly. The dribble and handoff play that got Trey Burke the three was was awfully interesting too, because it just kind of was a back and forth handoff between Gordon and Trey got some airspace and buried a three. The other moves Quinn made late were just, the sign of what a mad scientist he is. He's gonna, and I'm a big believer in this, and I think it's minimalistic. It's it's finding a 1% edge, a 2% edge, and if you do that enough times, you get an edge. And that's the theory behind it. It's probably only a tiny one, and how many times it actually is going to come to fruition, I think, is questionable. However, last night they came to fruition. So with Alec Burks at the free throw line up 1, Alec missed the first. Rudy Gobert checked in for Enes Kanter, and when Alec missed the free throw, Gobert's length, and there's the only reason I can think he was in the game, Gobert's length was there to knock the ball around, offensive rebound, Alec Burks back up and in. Then, three-point game now. So now it's a three-point game. You're defending it differently, and maybe it was more to have Rudy on the floor defensively to guard the rim. Fine. That's just trying to find the incremental improvement. The mad scientist has thought these things through. His brain's just awesome. And now it's a three-point game, so now they're going to try to shoot a three. So you take Gobert out, you bring Booker in, and then you switch all the picks. C.J. McCollum gets it off a pick. Booker's on him. Booker stays tight on him and is able to affect the shot. That's going down to the level of detail. That's, I think, what we have with Quinn, and that's pretty cool stuff, frankly. That's just his preparation is incredible, and those are things he's thought of before it happens. He's walked himself through every late game circumstance he possibly could so that he's not thinking about them for the first time at that moment. I like what Quinn did last night. He said it's not a non-replicable situation. He learned, they learned, and they won. So they learned a little. Guys played a lot. They get the night off today. They get the day off. They'll practice Saturday, Sunday, play Monday. I would suspect they practice Tuesday, get Wednesday off as we head to LA. And then they play Thursday, Friday, Saturday in LA, play Sunday, travel to Oklahoma City on Monday, play Tuesday, and then they almost have enough time for a mini training camp again before the regular season starts. We're still quite a ways away there. So, I mean, lots of good things. Let's talk about the guys individually or where they stand. The team as a whole is just playing better. Each individual guy is just playing better right now than we've seen them play before. They're playing in space. They're playing very well in numerous different fashions. They're getting opportunities. Kevin Pelton said to me, after the game last night, I see a light. I said, we'll have to talk to him more about it coming up. There is a podcast of me and Kevin up right now from it's a good one. It doesn't really talk a lot about the Jazz and what he's seen because it was done before the game. Kevin worked stats for us last night, but for the second straight night, everyone gets double figures. Gordon's first half was as good as I've seen him. And the shot charts on some of the guys are pretty interesting, actually. One, like, for example, Kanter got 13 shots last night, had 16 points, 10 rebounds. He did have 5 turnovers, but I think that's just going to be the reality a little bit of where we are with. I think we're going to have a lot of turnovers in each and every game. And you look at Kanter's shot chart. I'll try to pull it up for you. It's all over the map, right? He worked the post. He shot outside. He took what was supposed to be a 3 that ended up being a 2 because he had a foot on the line. But he took 9 of his 11 shots in the paint while still, being 9 of his 13 shots in the paint. He took 5 of them in the restricted area. 4 of them in the paint. 3 of them mid-range jumpers. He hit all of them and 1 from the outside. That's good. Like, you're not Kanter's going to the outside. You're not losing that aspect of his game along the way, which I think is a really cool thing to see that at least it's inside of a sequence of things and how it's happening. The only concern last night, frankly, on Kanter is that the Jazz were -6 when he was on the floor last night. Gordon Hayward attacking the basket. If you look at his shot distribution last night, I think he took 12 shots. 8 of them were in the paint. All the others actually were on the right side of the floor. He's he was only 3 of 8 inside, but I don't really care. He's going to the basket. 6 of them were in the restricted area. He'll get better. He's going to get those calls. The more he does with that dunk he did last night, you're looking at that. So these guys are getting shots in good spots on the floor. What's interesting is the lack of three-point shooting from this team. They've taken 14 threes in each of the last 2 games. This is not a very good three-point shooting team, but we certainly thought that this was going to be a team that shot a lot of threes, and they are not doing anything. Big for Trey Burke, by the way. Last year at the rim, 50%. Last night, 3 of 3, 1 of 3 in the paint. Hit his mid-range jumpers, 3 of 5, 3 of 6 from 3. He's the one guy who's been hitting the threes. So you see these guys playing this game in different ways. And sure, Gordon had 5 turnovers, and Favors had 4 turnovers, and Cantor had 5 turnovers because ball handling is being asked out of everyone right now, and that's going to happen. Alec Burks started the game poorly and then got in a groove and played very well after that. So you look at those numbers and the minutes and the distribution last night. I think that's really what this team is. The other big one last night, the really big one, Portland, no fast break points in the first quarter, second quarter, and they don't get a fast break point until the third quarter of the game. The Jazz transition defense that has been the number one focus of the entire training camp was just terrific. Portland got 4 fast break points in the third quarter. Finished the night with 8. This is a team that likes to run at home. That's what they do. So for the Jazz to shut out the transition game, that's a real applicable take that. Winning that game. I'm not sure that one says, hey, we're going to be able to win in Portland and compete with Portland. They didn't play their main guys. There's some other aspects to this that I think are still leaving some question marks of, Trey and Alec had 9-point fourth quarters against second-team guys. Okay, well, let's keep an eye on what happens when they play first-team guys. But stopping them in transition, I think, is very legit. They did not have Damian Lillard last night, who probably spurs their transition a little bit. But I still think that that's probably, to me, the biggest takeaway of the evening was the Jazz ability to slow down the transition in that game. All right, the other one I thought was interesting, shoot around yesterday was afterwards someone was asked about Cantor's three-point shooting, and Quinn said, the one that bothers me is the one that is one step inside the 3. That's the one I don't want. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's spacing and obviously the math of making the right shot. So all very interesting points along the way. All right, let me take some questions from you. I forgot what it felt like, by the way, for the 3 o'clock bedtime and 6 a.m. wake up. I have been reminded. Can the Jazz maintain spacing in the system with mediocre at best three-point shooting? Yeah, if you maintain movement, then you can maintain spacing. Pelton and I on our podcast talk about Pelton's concept of gravity a lot, but movement maintains spacing. If your guy has to stay with you, if you're tight curling, and then you take the guy out away, then it gets into timing, and that's where this team will get better and better. That's where this team will get better and better as the year goes on. Riley Lewis, will the Jazz be an elite rebounding team? Favors, Gobert, Cantor, Evans, Hayward, Exum all seem to be great rebounders. Oh, for their position. And Booker, Hood, Burks all seem to be pretty good. I think you're stretching a little bit. Will we be an elite rebounding team? Offensively, I don't think we will be because I think we're getting back in transition. And then defensively, hopefully, you'd like to be a top 10 defensive rebounding team. It's a big, it closes the defensive possession. We'll be a better defensive rebounding team because we're going to rotate less, I think. It seems to me there seems to be almost no doubling at all. So I read JP, our newest player, is 3 feet tall but has a 4-foot wingspan. Can you confirm? Yes, and he's very quick off the dribble defensively. From Sky Goose, why isn't Alec Burks taking more threes? He has not taken one. I don't know. We're not taking many threes as a team. I would like to see Alec take more threes personally. That I would concur on that concept. I don't know whether I don't know if there's a reason. I don't know if it's something in the system and the way the ball movement is working. I don't know if it's because he's been fabulous in training camp with his shot. So it just must not have been there, or to the point of, he's trying to learn Quinn's system the best he can, where Quinn's asking you to make a quick decision right away, and his instinctual quick decision may be to drive every time. So it's not to catch and shoot. This is all part of the process. But yes, he has not taken a 3 in 2 games, and we've only taken 14 per game. Josh Wardle, with the balance of scoring so far from the starting 5, are you anticipating this is how it'll be for the regular season? Do you think there will be 1 or 2 guys who average 20 a game for us? There weren't many guys that scored 20 a game in the NBA last year, if I remember correctly. I think, there was probably 14 or 15. I'll have to check. Maybe not. Maybe I think about it. There were probably. I might be wrong on that now. I think about it because you probably have 2 in Toronto and you have 2 in Golden State, and I don't know. Let me look that up. I'm actually now you got me curious. There were 19 guys that averaged 20 points a game last year. I don't think we're hitting that number. Durant averaged 32. LeBron, Carmelo, Love, and Harden were over 25. Blake, Steph Curry, LaMarcus, DeMar were over 22. Al Jefferson, Paul George, Dirk Nowitzki were 21. Kyrie, Anthony Lillard, Isaiah Thomas, Goran Dragic, and Rudy Gay were all at 20. I don't think we have that score on this team. I think I think you could have some 16, 17, 40 guys averaged 17 or more last year. I think that's probably the balance. I don't 20 a night's hard, really, really hard. I don't think we'll have a guy or 2 who averages 20. So I would suspect that it's more balanced like this. And other than Alec, I don't think we have a guy who really has a game who's going to go score 20, and Alec's got to still figure out if he can do it. Not sure you can answer, but Rudy Gobert apparently tweeted too soon after the game. Did he get in trouble for that? And what are the league rules for social media? There's some window that they have to wait to tweet after a game. And I guess I don't think it would be a big, I don't think it'd be a big warning or big problem at all. I have no idea. Actually, I didn't know he did that, and I don't actually know what the rule is. I do know he tweeted that he was excited about the win. They're all very excited. They're very, very plugged in right now. The effort is there. It is abundantly clear the Jazz will have a relatively weak bench this year. If we could upgrade the bench at one position, which position would you say needs the most help? I think we need a wing or a point guard, frankly. I think Dante is going to play 15 to 20 minutes a night just to get the experience, and I think there's going to be some nights where he's really on the short end of the stick with his inexperience. He really realized he played Australian high school basketball, which is like playing Travis Rust and Brandon Garside, 2 guys that are on the bottom of the hangout right now. Right? The last guys he played regularly, other than a little Nike Hoop Summit here or there, or a little World Cup, were guys that, no offense to Travis and Brandon, but they're just regular guys that aren't very good. His high school game is probably not that different than the Ward ball game, right? So he's playing grown men now for the first time, and things are very different. He's keeping a dribble to get with him too long at times. He's got all sorts of things, but the natural skill is just incredible. He's going to show flashes all year long, and that's all. And I think he'll have some good games, and then that'll help him propel him a little bit, and then he's going to hit a wall and be dreary. And when he hits the wall is when the bench is going to have some. So that's, if I had an upgrade, that'd be it. But I don't think that's the point of what we're trying to do. I think that wraps us up. I'm sure I've forgotten something on what was a fun, exciting game. I hope you enjoyed it. Jazz win it last night. They go to 2-0. Podcast available for you. 2 Guys on the 12 with Ian Furness up. Kevin Pelton podcast available. You can follow me on Facebook at Locked On Sports and on at David Locke as well. Please share our Facebook post. That's how Facebook does everything. Give us reviews and stars on iTunes and Stitcher. Helps us out a great deal. I appreciate everybody who's done that. And the Google Plus community is Locked On Sports. Have a great day and be safe.